In this 6th video of the Life Planning for Teens class, I want to wrap up our foundational work by talking about prioritization and how to deal with closed doors. Then we can start putting the pieces together and create the vision. Prioritization. Stephen Covey said, "The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities." As Covey's quote suggests, we spend a lot of our time trying to prioritize our schedule, our list of things to do. But what we should do is schedule our priorities. Instead of trying to find the time to do the things we think we should do, we should choose the things that really need to be done and make sure that they are the things we're working on. The word prior simply means before. So priority is beforeness. Prioritizing things simply means you're specifying their sequence. If you prioritize tasks, you could give them a sequence based on the time of their execution, their relative importance, etc. So our mantra, "I just need to prioritize," really doesn't mean much until we choose what things we're going to prioritize and what criteria we use to put them in order. Before we start prioritizing, what we have to do is decide what levels we have. You can prioritize tasks, objectives, goals, but not in the same list. Goals are desired results you want to achieve, and they're typically broad and long-term. Objectives are measurable steps to reach those goals. Tasks are specific actions to be taken to reach the objectives. If you're planning your day, you'll be prioritizing tasks. But if you're choosing overall goals for a year, you'll be working at a higher level. Once you've decided what you're prioritizing, objectives, goals, or tasks, you need to decide how you'll judge their priority. You might rank things on their relative importance, which things really matter the most. On the other hand, you might choose to look at how all of the things you have, or all your things you have to do, fit together. Will accomplishing one task make another task easier to do? Will one be impossible until you complete the other? You may want to rank things in order of their simplicity. Picking the low-hanging fruit can sometimes be a good idea. Maybe you can get the first 3 things on your list done in an hour, and the thrill of completing those things will give you the encouragement to make the harder things easier to face. There are a lot of ways to prioritize, and what you'll probably come up with in the end is a hybrid combining several methods. Sometimes you can't do it all. Getting organized may allow you to get more done, but it won't allow you to do everything. It won't put more time in your day. Prioritization isn't just deciding what to do first, but perhaps more importantly, it's choosing what not to do. We think of setting priorities as putting first things first, but that means there are things we will allow to drop off the end of the list and never get done. Prioritization doesn't put more hours in your day. It just allows you to make the best use of the hours that you have. And you need to understand that there are truly closed doors. When I was a little boy, I was watching a Western on TV, and I told my dad that when I grow up, I want to be an Indian. I was crushed when he told me I just couldn't do that. But he was right. I was never going to be an Indian. Even if the life that I dreamed of had still existed, there was still the matter of genetics. there really are closed doors. Some things just aren't going to happen. And when one door of happiness closes, another one opens. But often, we look so long at that closed door that we don't see the one that's been opened for us. Helen Keller was born in 1880. When she was about a year and a half old, she had a serious illness that left her both deaf and blind. Even with such a handicap, she learned to communicate. She graduated from Radcliffe College of Harvard University, becoming the first deaf-blind person to earn a college degree. She learned to speak even though she couldn't hear. She became an author, a political activist, a lecturer. She said, when faced with a real closed door, it is best to admit it and move on. But many of the things we call closed doors are really just challenges that we can overcome. Opening closed doors. Years ago, I read a little fable about a king who wanted to choose the wisest man in the kingdom to be his advisor. After a thorough search, he chose 3 men who seemed to be the wisest, and he put them to a final test. He had a jail cell built using the most intricate and complex lock ever devised, and he shut the 3 wise men up in that cell. He told them the one who figured out how to open the cell would be showered with gifts and would become his new advisor. 2 of the men, after requesting books, paper, and pens, began analyzing all the possible locking mechanisms, how they might open them. The 3rd man sat quietly and thought for a few moments, and then walked over and pushed the door open. The lock was impressive, but the door had never been locked. The story was fictitious, but the fact remains that some doors only look locked, and sometimes they can be opened if we try. Other times, the doors really are closed and locked, but maybe they opened or were opened while we weren't looking. We've probably all heard about training circus elephants. A baby elephant is too small to pull a stake out of the ground and can be tied up to such a stake and restrained. If this is done when they're small, they grow up believing they are no match for that wooden stake. And they can still be restrained when their strength would actually render that stake worthless. I've also been told you can train a dog to stay in one room by putting a child gate across the door and slowly lowering it. Finally, the dog will stay in the room if a ruler is placed across the doorway. Now, I read about this. I even saw pictures, but I never had that kind of success training my dog. There may be other ways to get where we want to go. When a door closes, sometimes we spend all of our effort beating on it, and we fail to look around. Are there other doors that will open? Will they take us to the same place? The point is, when you're up against a closed door, preventing you from moving forward, check and make sure the door really is closed and locked. If it is, look for a key, for a way around it. If there's truly no way around or through, remember your circumstances may change in the future. It may open when you aren't looking. Now it's time to start the vision statement. Another quote from Helen Keller. The most pathetic person in the world is someone who has sight but has no vision. Through my years of corporate life, people tried to help me understand the difference between a vision statement and a mission statement. I just couldn't see it. It didn't help that when one person's vision fit another person's definition for mission. Each of them was adamant, but who was right? Eventually, I realized that the effort we spent arguing about what to call our targets was effort that could have been spent moving toward those targets. With that, I drew a picture. A sunrise between mountain peaks, with a winding road leading to it, and it became clear. That sunrise is the vision, the place you want to be at the end. You may or may not reach it. You might get part of the way and realize you need to adjust the direction. That isn't a problem. If you reach the point between the peaks, you'll find that the sun is really rising behind the next peak. But that's fine. The purpose of the vision is to orient you and get you moving in the right direction, not to establish the absolute endpoint. The vision describes a place, not the way to get there. Don't worry right now about how to get to that place. That's the next step. Don't worry that your vision won't be attainable. Planning comes later. Don't try to define the place you think you might end up. Define the place you want to be, whether you think there might be a road there or not. We can remember the past and we can see the present, but our vision is in the future. The vision will be your best guess, but it's uncertain and it'll change. That isn't a problem. Again, the purpose of the vision is to establish a direction rather than define the endpoint. You will refine it as you move forward and adjust it over time. Your best guess approximation is close enough to this point, or at this point. The best guess will be enough to get you to the place where you can see a better destination. So, how do you write a vision statement? A vision statement is a description of where you want to be. The sunrise between the mountain peaks, or the end of the rainbow. Picturing where you want to be is hard, and describing it in a written statement is daunting. This is an imaginative process, so you need to let your imagination run free. Put yourself in the future. Picture yourself at a banquet 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. You decide the time. You're being honored for your contributions to your city or for your business success, your contribution to your family, for solving world hunger, whatever it is. You're being recognized for your accomplishment and what you have become. The mayor or governor, president, pope, whomever, is going to speak about your accomplishments, what you've achieved after dinner. As people are eating, you happen to overhear someone talking at the next table. They don't know you can hear them. And you don't mean to eavesdrop, but hey, they're talking about you. You can't help but hearing a word or two here and there. They're describing what you've become and generally talking about how great you are. What are some of the words you hear? Individual words. Take a stack of index cards or a pad of sticky notes. Write one word per card. This is no time for false modesty. After all, you're just writing down the words that these strangers are saying, even though those strangers actually only live in your imagination. Still, the words are theirs. Don't feel bad about them. Write as quickly as you can without a lot of thought or analysis. The goal is not to come up with just the right words. It's to generate a fairly large stack of words. Now, spread the words out and look at them. Start thinking about your vision, where you want to be. Some of the words are central to your vision, essential for describing your destination. Others are unimportant. Sort the words into a list by their importance. If a word is absolutely central to where you want to be, put it at the top of the list. Words that are less important will be further down in your pile. Take the words from the top of the list, the top 10 or so. Start moving them around to make a sentence. Add other words as needed until you like the sound of it. Keep adjusting it until it describes where you think you would like to be. This is the personal vision and the first step to your strategic plan.